On the planet Kethria Prime, inside a building made of white crystal that reflected the light of three suns, Dr. Teo stood before a large glass window and looked out at the endless research facilities below. For 30 years, he had worked on one single project. It had taken his entire life, consumed his thoughts every day, and pushed him to the edge of madness many times. But now, finally, it was complete. The project had a simple name: the Extinction Protocol. But what it actually was could not be described in simple words. It was a toxin, a poison so dangerous that even the smallest amount could kill almost any living creature in the galaxy. The Kethrian scientists had designed every molecule with perfect care, making sure that nothing could survive it. One molecule of this poison could break apart the thinking parts of a creature's brain and destroy it completely. Dr. Teo was not a cruel person. He did not want to hurt anyone, but he understood that the galaxy was a dangerous place. Powerful species were always fighting each other. Weak species disappeared from history. The Kethrians had been peaceful for thousands of years, but they knew that peace could end at any moment. They needed protection. They needed something so powerful and so scary that no other species would ever dare to attack them. This toxin was that protection. Dr. Minnie worked beside Teo in the laboratory. She was the finest chemist that Kethria Prime had ever produced. Her hands moved with perfect precision when she worked with the dangerous materials. Her mind could understand the smallest details of how molecules connected and separated. She had done much of the real work in creating the toxin. Teo was the leader, but Min-A was the heart of the research. "It is beautiful," Min-A said one morning as she looked at the data on the screen. "I know that sounds strange for something so deadly, but look at how perfectly it works. Every part of the design serves a purpose. There is no waste. There is no mistake." Teo understood what she meant. The toxin was like a perfect machine. It did exactly what it was designed to do, nothing more and nothing less. In that way, yes, it was beautiful. It was also terrifying. But that was the point. The Kethrian government had approved the project despite many arguments against it. Some scientists said it was too dangerous to keep such a weapon. Some politicians said it was wrong to create something designed only to kill. But in the end, the fear of other species winning a future war was stronger than these arguments. The Extinction Protocol was approved, created, and stored in special containers made of quantum materials. These containers could hold anything. Nothing could escape from them. The toxin was safe, hidden away on a secure base far from any city. The Kethrians felt different now. They walked with more confidence. They spoke with more authority in galactic meetings. Other species seemed to respect them more. No one knew exactly what the Extinction Protocol was, but rumors had spread. Everyone knew the Kethrians had created something that would change everything, and most species were afraid. It was on a normal day in the cold season of Kethria Prime when the message came. A human delegation was coming to visit. They wanted to speak about trade and peace and making friends. Humans were still new to space travel. They had only been exploring the galaxy for about 500 years. Compared to civilizations that had existed for millions of years, humans were like children who had just learned to walk. The Kethrian leaders did not worry much about this visit. They welcomed visitors from all species. They believed in talking and understanding each other. It was one of the things that made Kethrians different from many other species. They were not warriors. They were thinkers. They solved problems with science and words, not with weapons. Captain Jin-Ho arrived on a ship that looked small and simple compared to the large Kethrian ships in the space dock. He brought 12 other people with him, including his second officer, Lieutenant Park Mi. She was young and very smart. She watched everything carefully as they walked through the Kethrian city. Her eyes moved quickly, studying the buildings, the technology, the way Kethrians moved and spoke to each other. Jin-Ho was friendly and happy to be there. He made jokes and asked many questions. The Kethrians decided to show the humans their scientific work. This was a good way to show how advanced they were. It was a good way to impress the visitors. They gave the humans a tour of the main research center. Scientists explained different projects. They showed the laboratories where important work was being done. The humans seemed impressed and excited. Then came the moment that would change everything. The tour group was walking through the storage area when something went wrong. A worker was moving one of the quantum containers from one shelf to another. The worker made a small mistake. His hand moved wrong. The container fell. It was a small container, and it held only a tiny amount of the extinction protocol. But even a tiny amount was enough to be dangerous. Very dangerous. The container broke when it hit the ground. The poison inside it, invisible and silent, began to spread into the air. It mixed with water vapor. It fell as small drops into the refreshment station where the human delegation was waiting. The liquid that was supposed to be safe drinking water became something else entirely. It became the deadliest substance in the galaxy. At first, no one noticed what had happened. The Kethrian workers started to move slowly, trying to keep calm. Dr. Minnie felt her body become cold. She knew what had happened. She knew what that container held. She ran toward the refreshment station, trying to move faster than she had ever moved before. But she was too slow. Lieutenant Park Mee was thirsty after the long tour. She reached for a glass. The liquid inside was already mixing with the poison from the broken container. She lifted the glass to her lips. Dr. Teo, who was standing nearby, saw what was happening. Time seemed to slow down for him. He wanted to shout. He wanted to run. He wanted to do something. But his body would not move fast enough. He watched as Park Mee drank from the glass. Then Captain Jin Ho, not knowing what was happening, reached for a glass as well. He smiled at his second officer. "This hospitality is very good," he said. He brought the glass to his mouth and drank. The poison was inside him now. The most deadly substance ever created by the Kethrians was inside his body. It should have killed him in less than 1 second. His brain should have stopped working. His body should have collapsed. But Jin Ho just smiled and took another drink. "Your beverage has quite a strong taste," he said, looking at the Kethrians with interest. "But it is good. It makes me feel very awake." Dr. Teo felt the world disappear beneath his feet. He did not understand what he was seeing. He did not understand how it was possible. Nothing could survive this toxin. Nothing. He had spent 30 years making sure of that. And yet, standing before him was a human who had drunk it and was still alive. Min-A moved forward quickly. She used her communicator to call for medical help. She ordered machines to scan the human's body. She wanted to see what was happening inside. She wanted to understand how this was possible. The scans came back. They showed something that made every Kethrian scientist in the room question everything they believed about how the galaxy worked. The poison was there, inside Jin Ho's body. It was in his blood. It was in his brain. But it was not destroying him. Instead, his body was changing the poison. His body was making it into something different. His body was making it into something useful. The medical machines made strange sounds as they scanned Captain Jin Ho's body. Every Kethrian in the room held their breath. They were waiting for the machines to show what they had always known would happen. The scans would show a dead human, or at least a human dying very quickly. That was what the extinction protocol was supposed to do. That was what it had always done. But the machines showed something completely different. Dr. Minnie looked at the numbers on the screen and could not believe what she was seeing. She looked again. She looked a third time. The numbers did not change. She called over the other scientists. "Look at this," she said, pointing at the data. "Look at what his body is doing." The poison was definitely inside Jin Ho's bloodstream. The machines could detect it clearly. It was spreading through his body. It was touching his brain. It was touching every important part of his system. According to every law of biology that the Kethrians understood, Jin Ho should be dead. He should have been dead in the first second after he drank the poison. His death should have been instant and complete. Instead, Jin Ho was standing next to Lieutenant Parkme, and he was smiling. "I feel very good, actually," Jin Ho said when the Kethrians asked him if he was feeling anything strange. "I feel very awake, very sharp. My thinking is very clear right now. I feel like I can understand things more easily than before." Parkme nodded. "Me too. It is like my mind is working faster. Is that normal?" The Kethrians did not answer. They did not know how to answer. This was not normal. This was not anything that should be possible. Dr. Teo leaned over and looked more carefully at the scan of Jin Ho's brain. The neural activity was increasing. The patterns of electricity and chemistry inside his brain were growing stronger, not weaker. His brain was not being destroyed. His brain was being enhanced. The poison was not killing him. The poison was making him smarter. "This is not happening," Teo said quietly. "This cannot be happening." But it was happening. The data was clear. The machines did not lie. The most deadly substance in the galaxy had been drunk by a human, and instead of dying, the human was becoming more intelligent. The Kethrian government was called immediately. The leaders of the planet needed to know what had happened. They needed to understand what this meant. An emergency meeting was called. Scientists presented the data. Images of Jin Ho's brain scans were shown. Doctors explained what they were seeing. "The human's body has adapted to the toxin," one scientist explained. "It is not just surviving the poison, it is using the poison. It is taking the poison and changing it into something useful. The human's body is reorganizing its own neural structure. The human's body is using the poison as a tool for improvement." The leaders looked at each other. They did not know what to do. This was not part of any plan. This was not something that anyone had expected. One of the most powerful weapons ever created had turned into something else entirely when it touched human biology. "Perhaps this is a rare thing," one leader suggested. "Perhaps only this one human has this ability. Perhaps it is just a lucky accident." They watched Parkme very carefully. They asked her many questions about how she was feeling. They scanned her brain many times, and they found the same thing. Her body had also adapted to the toxin. Her body was also using it to improve her mind. Her neural activity was increasing. Her thinking was becoming sharper. "Your species is remarkable," Dr. Minne said to Captain Jin Ho later that day. "We do not understand how this is possible. We do not understand how your body can do this. But it is happening. The poison is making you smarter." Jin Ho thought about this for a moment. "On Earth, we have a saying," he said. "What does not kill you makes you stronger. Perhaps your poison is like this. Perhaps my body is just doing what human bodies have always done. Perhaps my body is learning from the danger. Perhaps my body is growing." "That is not how biology works," Minne said. "Perhaps not for your species," Jin Ho replied, "but it seems like it might be how it works for us." The Kethrians watched and waited. Days passed. Jin Ho and Parkme remained healthy. They remained smart. They remained alive. There was no sign that they would get sick or die. The poison had done no harm at all. Instead, it had made them better. News of what had happened started to spread through the galaxy. Other species heard about the incident. They heard that humans had drunk the extinction protocol and survived. They heard that humans had actually become smarter because of it. Some species did not believe the news. They thought it must be a lie or a trick. But the Kethrians could not deny the truth. They had the evidence. They had the scans. They had Captain Jin Ho and Lieutenant Parkme. walking around alive and healthy and more intelligent than they had been before. The Kethrian people began to feel fear. For 30 years, they had felt safe. For 30 years, they had believed that their extinction protocol would protect them. They had believed that no species would dare to attack them because of this weapon. But now, the weapon did not seem so powerful anymore. The weapon could hurt many species, but it could help humans. And if it could help humans, then humans might not be afraid of it. Back on Earth, when the news arrived, the response was different. The leaders of Earth were excited. The scientists of Earth were fascinated. They wanted to understand this more. They wanted to know if humans could really use the extinction protocol to improve themselves. They wanted to know if all humans could do this, or just some humans. Dr. Kang Su was the head scientist of Earth's biological research programs. He was a careful thinker and a brilliant mind. When he heard the news about the poison and the humans who drank it, he saw something that others did not see. He saw opportunity. "This is not an accident," he told the Earth government leaders. "This is not just luck. This is what humans are. This is what we have always been. We have survived on a dangerous planet for millions of years. We have learned to turn danger into strength. We have learned to take what would kill us and learn from it. This poison is just another challenge, and humans are very good at overcoming challenges." Kang Su began preparing a message to the Kethrian government. He wanted to ask for something that would seem crazy to every other species in the galaxy. He wanted to ask for the poison. He wanted to ask for the extinction protocol. And he wanted to ask if humans could use it voluntarily, with control and care, to improve their own minds and bodies. The message was sent across the stars to Kethria Prime. The Kethrians would read it, and they would not believe what they were seeing. They would think Earth had gone mad. They would think humans were crazy. But they would soon discover that this was just the beginning of something bigger than anyone had imagined. When the Kethrian Council received the message from Earth requesting access to the extinction protocol, there was silence. Long silence. The kind of silence that happens when people are trying to understand something that does not make sense. Dr. Teo read the message 3 times. Each time, the words seemed more unbelievable. "They want the poison," one council member said slowly. "They want the most dangerous substance in the galaxy, and they want to use it deliberately. They want to drink it." "Not all at once," another member pointed out. "They say small amounts. They say carefully measured doses. They say they want to study how the human body uses it. They say they want to understand the science behind it." Dr. Min-ai stood before the council and explained what she believed was happening. "The human body is different from any other species we know," she said. "The human body has adapted to survive on a harsh planet. Earth is a world of danger and difficulty. It has too much heat in some places and too much cold in other places. It has creatures that want to eat humans. It has diseases. It has natural disasters. Humans have survived all of this for millions of years. Their bodies have learned to adapt. Their bodies have learned to survive. And when they encountered the poison, their bodies simply did what they have always done. They adapted." "But why?" asked a council member. "Why would evolution make them capable of surviving this particular poison when it did not even exist when they were evolving?" "Because the principle is the same," Min-ai explained. "The poison works by destroying neural connections, but the human body already has systems to protect and rebuild neural connections. The human body already has the tools to handle damage to the brain. The poison does not overwhelm those systems. Instead, those systems use the poison as a tool to improve themselves. The human body sees a problem and solves it. That is what humans do." The debate in the council went on for many hours. Some leaders wanted to refuse the request. They wanted to keep the extinction protocol hidden. They wanted to lock it away and pretend it did not exist. But other leaders saw something different. They saw an opportunity for knowledge. They saw a chance to understand biology in new ways. "If we refuse them, they will simply research it on their own," one leader said. They have samples from the incident. They know the poison exists. They know it affects them differently than it affects other species. If we work with them, we can control the research. We can monitor what they do. We can ensure safety. If we refuse them, we have no control at all. In the end, the Council made a decision. Earth would be allowed limited access to the Extinction Protocol. But there would be rules. The humans could only use very small amounts. The research would be monitored closely. The poison would not be shared with other species, and if anything went wrong, the program would be stopped immediately. The message was sent back to Earth. The humans were excited. Kangsu began assembling the finest scientists and doctors in the world. They would study what the poison did to human biology. They would figure out how it improved the human mind. They would understand the mechanism behind the enhancement. Within a month, the first official trials began on Earth. Volunteers who were brave enough to drink the Extinction Protocol came forward. Scientists carefully gave them very small amounts of the poison. They watched what happened. They measured the changes. They recorded everything. And the same thing happened again and again and again. Every human who received the poison survived. Every human who received the poison showed increased neural activity. Every human who received the poison became more intelligent and more alert. Some humans showed even more dramatic improvements than others. Some humans' brains seemed to adapt faster, but all of them survived. All of them benefited. The scientific community on Earth became very excited. Doctors started to see the poison as a tool. They gave it to people who had suffered brain injuries. They found that the poison helped those people heal faster. They gave it to old people whose memories were getting weaker. They found that the poison helped those people remember better. They gave it to young people who were studying difficult subjects. They found that those people learned faster. News of this spread through the galaxy like wildfire. Other species heard that humans were using the Extinction Protocol as a medicine and as an improvement tool. Some species were amazed. Some species were frightened. Many species wanted to try it themselves. But when other species tried to use the poison, they died. Just like the Kethrians had always known they would. A single molecule was enough to kill them. They did not adapt. Their bodies did not improve. They simply died, fast and complete. The Kethrians began to understand something amazing and terrible. The Extinction Protocol was not actually as powerful as they had thought. It was only powerful against species that did not have the human adaptation. For humans, it was not a weapon at all. It was a gift. Dr. Mine began to examine human DNA more carefully. She wanted to understand exactly what made humans different. She wanted to understand what gave them the ability to survive the poison when no other species could. She looked at the genes that controlled how the brain worked. She looked at the genes that controlled how the body healed from damage. She looked at everything. What she found was shocking. Humans did not have any special genes that other species did not have. Humans did not have any magical DNA that protected them. Humans had something else entirely. Humans had flexibility. Human DNA was not locked into one exact way of doing things. Human DNA could change. It could adapt. It could try new ways of doing things. It is like human DNA is always experimenting, Minae explained to Tayo. Other species have DNA that is stable and does not change much. Human DNA is always looking for new solutions. It is always trying new ways to survive. When the poison comes along, human DNA does not panic. It does not get confused. It tries to figure out how to use the poison instead of being killed by it. On Earth, the poison became part of the culture. People talked about it at parties. They joked about it. They gave it funny names like Clarity and Ascension and The Edge. Parents gave tiny amounts to their children to help them study in school. Athletes used it to improve their reflexes. Artists used it to unlock their creativity. The Kethrians watched all of this with a mixture of amazement and concern. They had created a weapon that was supposed to protect them. Instead, They had accidentally created something that made their greatest potential rival much stronger. But there was nothing they could do about it now. The knowledge was already out. The poison was already being used. And every day humans were becoming more advanced, more intelligent, more capable. Every day humans were growing in ways that other species could not grow. The galaxy was changing, and nobody could predict where this would lead. Dr. Min-A became obsessed. She could not stop thinking about humans. She could not stop trying to understand them. She requested permission from the Kethrian government to go to Earth and study humans directly. She wanted to live among them. She wanted to see how they worked every day. She wanted to understand not just their biology, but their way of thinking and living. The Kethrian government approved her request. They were curious, too. They wanted to understand what made humans so different. If Min-A could learn these secrets, perhaps the Kethrians could understand the future better. Perhaps they could predict what humans might become. Min-A arrived on Earth and was amazed by what she saw. The planet was not beautiful in the way Kethria Prime was beautiful. Earth was messy and wild and full of danger, but it was also alive in a way that made Min-A understand humans better. This planet had shaped them. This harsh world had taught them how to survive. She spent months living in the city of Seoul with a human family that had agreed to help her study. She watched how humans lived. She watched how humans thought. She watched how humans solved problems. And she began to see patterns that no Kethrian scientist had ever seen before. Humans did not plan everything carefully the way Kethrians did. Humans made quick decisions. Humans took risks. Humans tried things even when they were not sure what would happen. And somehow, this made humans successful. This made humans good at surviving. Dr. Kang-soo met with Min-A regularly. He wanted to help her understand human biology and human culture. He wanted to explain things that might seem strange or confusing. The more time Min-A spent with humans, the more she understood what made them special. "Your species was made for survival," Min-A told Kang-soo one day as they sat in a coffee shop and watched the city move around them. Outside the window, humans walked and ran and worked and lived. The city was full of energy and movement and noise. "We did not choose to be this way," Kang-soo said. "We were just born on a world that demanded it. We had no choice but to adapt or die." "But that is the key," Min-A said. She was excited now, understanding something important. "Your species learned to need challenge. Your species learned that survival is connected to growth. You are not comfortable when everything is safe and peaceful. You need danger. You need difficulty. You need problems to solve. That is what makes you different." Kang-soo nodded slowly. "When everything is easy, humans get bored. We become unhappy. We need something to push against. We need something to overcome." Min-A looked at the data she had been collecting. She had measured human brains. She had tested human reactions. She had studied human history. And she had found something remarkable. Every time humans faced a difficult challenge, they became stronger. Not just physically stronger, but mentally stronger. Not just in one way, but in many ways. It was as if challenge itself was fuel that made humans better. "When you use the poison," Min-A said, "you are not really using a foreign substance. You are using something that makes the challenge your body faces even stronger. Your body responds by adapting even faster. Your mind becomes sharper because it has to work harder. You are simply increasing the challenge that your body naturally wants to face." "So we are addicted to difficulty?" Kang-soo asked with a smile. "Perhaps," Min-A said, "but it is a healthy addiction. It makes you who you are." Min-A requested to study a human who was using the poison regularly. She wanted to see exactly how the body changed over time. A volunteer named Ji-woo agreed to participate. Ji-woo was a young man who took small amounts of the poison every week. Mine watched what happened to his body and his mind. The changes were obvious. Jiwoo's brain scans showed new connections forming every week. His problem-solving skills improved. His memory improved. His ability to learn new information improved. But something else happened too. Jiwoo became more confident. He became braver. He took on bigger challenges in his life. He applied for a better job. He started to believe in himself more. The poison is not just making your brain work better, Mine explained to him. The poison is making you braver. It is making you believe that you can do difficult things. It is making you more human in the ways that matter most. As Mine continued her research, she began to see the bigger picture. She understood why the Extinction Protocol had failed to be a weapon against humans. It had not failed because of some accident or lucky chance. It had failed because the poison actually matched what humans needed. Humans needed challenge. Humans needed to push themselves to the limit. The poison provided that. The poison was like fuel for the human spirit. She also began to understand something that frightened her. If humans continued to use the poison, if humans continued to improve their minds and bodies, then in a few generations, humans would be more advanced than any other species in the galaxy. Not because humans were better at birth, but because humans would never stop improving. Humans would never be satisfied with what they had. Humans would always want to be better. Mine thought about her own species. The Kethrians had reached a point of comfort. They had technology that worked well. They had medicine that healed their bodies. They had comfort and safety. And in that comfort and safety, they had stopped trying very hard to improve. They were content. They were happy. But they were not pushing themselves the way humans push themselves. One evening, Mine sat in a small restaurant in Seoul and watched people eating and talking. A group of humans nearby were discussing their dreams. One wanted to be a doctor. Another wanted to explore space. Another wanted to write books. They all talked about the future as if it was a challenge they wanted to face. They talked about their goals as if they were mountains they wanted to climb. Min-I realized something important. This was the real difference between humans and other species. Humans looked at the future and saw challenges. Other species looked at the future and saw a place where they would try to be comfortable. Humans wanted to climb mountains. Other species wanted to find safe caves to sleep in. And that was why the poison worked on humans. The poison created challenge. The poison made survival harder. And humans were the only species that wanted survival to be harder because it made them stronger. Dr. Mine finished her research and prepared her final report. She had spent a year on Earth, and she had learned more about biology and about life than she had learned in all her years on Kethria Prime. She understood now that humans were not dangerous because they had the poison. Humans were dangerous because they were naturally built to overcome anything. The poison was just a tool that matched something humans already were. The emergency message came to the Kethrian Council on a day when the sky was clear and the three suns were all shining together. The message was not from Earth. It was from a group of other species who had united together because they were frightened. Very frightened. The message explained their fear clearly. Humans were advancing too quickly. In just 50 years since the incident with the poison, humans had made scientific discoveries that normally took civilizations hundreds of years to make. Humans had created new technologies. Humans had built better ships. Humans had invented new medicines and new weapons. Humans had improved their own bodies and brains with the poison, and this had made them smarter and stronger than before. And the other species were afraid that humans would soon become too powerful to control. The message asked a simple question. What were the Kethrians going to do about this? Dr. Teo received the message in his office. He read it once. He read it twice. Then he put his head in his hands and sighed. He had known this moment would come eventually. He had known that one day the other species would realize what was happening. He had known that fear would drive them to ask for the Kethrians to do something. But what could the Kethrians do? They could not take back the poison. They could not undo what had happened. They could not make humans forget that the poison existed. The knowledge was already out in the galaxy. The poison was already being used. There was no way to go back to the time before humans knew about it. The council called an emergency meeting. All the most important leaders came. All the greatest scientists came. They all sat around a large table and discussed what should be done. "We must cut off their supply," one leader said. "We must refuse to give them any more poison. We must make them afraid that we will stop helping them if they do not slow down their advancement." "That will not work," another leader said. "They already have samples. They already understand how to make small amounts of it themselves. If we refuse to help them, they will simply produce their own poison. We have no control anyway." "Then we must destroy them," a third leader said quietly. Everyone stopped talking and looked at this leader. "We must use our weapons. We must stop the human threat before it becomes too dangerous." This was the moment that Dr. Teo had feared the most. This was the moment when he knew he had to speak. He had created the poison. He had spent his whole life on this project. If anyone understood what they were dealing with, it was him. "No," Teo said. His voice was calm but very firm. "We cannot destroy humanity, and we cannot control humanity. We cannot threaten them. These things will not work because we do not understand what humanity is." Everyone looked at Teo. They waited for him to explain. "Humans are not a civilization like we are," Teo continued. "We Kethrians value peace and comfort and safety. We value having everything stable and organized. When we face a threat, we try to find ways to avoid the threat. But humans are different. Humans have been shaped by a world of constant danger. Humans value challenge. Humans value growth. Humans value the ability to overcome. When you threaten humans, they do not become afraid. They become more determined to survive. When you try to control humans, they do not obey. They find new ways to escape. When you try to destroy humans, you will only make them stronger because fighting for survival is what humans do best." The council was quiet. They understood what Teo was saying. They understood that the normal methods of dealing with other species would not work with humans. "Then what do we do?" asked the leader of the council. Teo took a deep breath. "We have a choice," he said. "We can fight humans, and we will lose because humans are better at fighting for survival than we are. Or we can work with humans. We can help them. We can learn from them. We can be part of their journey instead of trying to stop their journey. If we do this, then humans will not see us as enemies. Humans will see us as partners, and humans are loyal to their partners." The meeting went on for many hours. The council debated what Teo had said. Some leaders still wanted to find ways to control humans or stop them, but slowly the argument changed. Slowly, the leaders began to understand. They began to see that Teo was right. You could not control humans. You could not threaten humans. You could not make humans afraid of you. The only way to deal with humans was to work with them and hope that they chose to work with you. Dr. Min Ai was brought into the meeting. She had just returned from Earth, and she had fresh observations about human nature. She explained to the council everything she had learned. She explained how humans thought. She explained how humans solved problems. She explained how humans responded to challenge. "Humans do not want to conquer the galaxy," Min-A said. "Humans want to explore it. Humans want to understand it. Humans want to grow and improve and become better versions of themselves. If we try to stop them from these things, they will fight us. But if we help them do these things, if we work with them, then they will help us too. They will include us in their journey." One of the leaders who had wanted to destroy humanity spoke up. "But what if they choose to conquer us anyway? What if they decide that they do not need us anymore? Then We will have tried our best, Minnie said, and we will have learned something important about life and survival. But I do not think it will happen. I have lived among humans. I have studied them carefully. Humans are not naturally cruel or conquerors. Humans are naturally builders and creators and explorers. They want to build things. They want to create things. They want to explore things. If we work with them, they will want to build great things together with us. The council made its decision. The Kethrians would offer friendship to humans. They would offer partnership. They would work together on scientific projects. They would share knowledge. They would help each other grow and improve. The message was sent across the stars to Earth. The response came quickly. The humans were happy. They wanted to work with the Kethrians. They wanted to build things together. Dr. Teo and Dr. Kongsu became friends. They worked on research projects together. They helped each other understand the universe better. They created new medicines. They created new technologies. They created new ways of thinking about science and life. The other species that had been afraid watched what happened between the Kethrians and the humans. They saw that the humans did not conquer anyone. They saw that the humans wanted to help and to create and to improve. Slowly, the fear went away. Slowly, the galaxy understood that humans were not a threat to be stopped. Humans were a new kind of species that wanted to be part of the galactic community. And it had all started because of an accident. It had all started because of a broken container and a poison that was meant to destroy. But instead of destroying, it had revealed something beautiful about human nature. It had revealed that humans were the species that could turn poison into medicine. It had revealed that humans were the species that could take danger and turn it into strength.